I'm Dr. Jeff Gold, and I have the honor of serving as the president of the University of Nebraska system. Welcome to Shaping the Future, where we have the opportunity to talk with faculty, staff, students, alumni, and with community members who are truly making a difference. Our guest today is Carrick Detweiler. He's an engineering professor here at the University of Nebraska on our Lincoln campus. Carrick is also a robotics expert and is the co-founder and the chief executive officer of Drone Amplified. One of their products allows firefighters to control wildfires while staying out of harm's way. They do this through igniting backburns, and they do it with drones. We're excited to have Carrick with us today on Shaping the Future and to hear more about he's using his innovative work to help save lives and protect our environment. Carrick, thank you so much for being with us today. And before we start to talk about robotics and drones and all of the amazing engineering and, by the way, health safety aspects of this, our audience is always interested in the background of our guests. So how did you ever decide that you wanted a career in engineering, and what about robotics and drones attracted you?
Yeah, so growing up, I always liked to, take things apart and figure out how they worked, and that was really the motivation. I was always interested in science and math and technology throughout my childhood, but it was really actually a couple of professors I was working with as an undergrad that...
Here in Lincoln, right?
No, actually in Middlebury College in Vermont.
Middlebury College, wow.
Yep, so small school, but two professors were working on robotics, and I got involved in working with them and really learned about how this field integrates computing, engineering, and actually being able to interact with the world and do good things.
And robotics, and particularly in drones, is really very important, not only in the area that we're going to talk about, fighting wildfires, but also in production agriculture in so many different ways. And so how did you get from robotics into drones, and from drones into this concept of fighting wildfires?
Yeah, so it's really something that came about through my research here. So I was working in drones, doing a variety of projects. I was doing aerial water sampling, so actually the drones flying out and collecting water samples here in Nebraska to try to look for toxic algal blooms before they became, impacted the water supplies. And, we were just collaborating and actually had lunch one day with a new professor who was a fire ecologist and started talking about all the challenges in wildland firefighting and how potentially drones could actually do more than just fly around and take pictures of them.
Wow. And just shows you sometimes really good things happen when you break bread with other people and
sure.
share bold ideas. So you've not only done this research, but you've actually started a company. And let's talk about what that journey was like and that transition.
Yeah, so it really was driven by some impactful work we were doing. So we had a National Science Foundation grant to study the fundamentals and figure out how we could do this from the fundamental. Are we even able to fly around fires? And then we actually...
And is it okay? I mean, can drones fly around fires? I think they do.
Yes, yeah. So we were very concerned about how the thermal impacts might influence the drones, but it turns out that we solved some challenges, but it wasn't too much of a problem.
Doesn't just melt.
It doesn't just melt, and
Good.
It turns out that we can actually fly typically high enough where you're not impacted by that. But what we were doing is actually not just observing the fires, but actually starting fires to fight fires. So our system called IGNIS has these little ping pong balls that are ignition spheres, and right before we drop them, we actually inject them with a chemical that starts a reaction and starts a fire. And so firefighters use this to do prescribed burns that you may be familiar with. Sure. in the area. But also firefighters use this to actually help contain wildfires. So it turns out that when you hear a fire is 60% contained, often what the firefighters are doing are actually burning out some areas in front of the wildfire front.
And circling it.
And circling it, so when it gets there, it doesn't have the fuel and will go out.
And so they used to do this for many years, as I understand, with manned aircraft, right? Which of course had some risk to it, as they needed to get reasonably close to the front edge of the fire before they could start these backburns to control them. And now using drones takes the human risk out of it. Is that right?
Yeah, about a quarter of all wildland firefighting fatalities are related to aviation. So there's a big push to try to take those jobs that you can, get the people out of those aircraft and do that. So, I was talking to some of our users in the Forest Service, and they've dropped over 1 million of these ignition spheres this year alone.
My gosh.
Yep.
That's a lot of spheres.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit, because there'll be members of our audience that may not be so interested in drones or robotics, but they're probably very interested in how you go from being a university professor and working in a research laboratory to actually starting a company. And how would you summarize that? And what's your journey been like?
Yeah, it's really been exciting because, I've always been interested in entrepreneurship, but it really was the firefighters coming to us and being like, oh, this is a really, neat idea, but, can we actually scale this to be used by anybody out in the field in these rough conditions? And so it's been really, really amazing to see how we can go from, that initial idea over lunch to, demonstrating that it works at the university, to now having a university spin-off where we're actually producing this and making a huge impact.
So part of the process, as I understand it, is to so-called protect the intellectual property. Is that right?
Yes, yeah. So we worked with New Tech at the university to actually patent some of these ideas early on, and then have been working, with them and others at the university to really get this into the commercial sector.
Well, some might say that commercializing intellectual property, or technology transfer as it's sometimes known, is antithetical or opposed to academics and, typically academic promotion, things of that nature. For many, many years, as certainly in my own career, I've never seen them competing. I've seen them very highly aligned, and I'm wondering if you'd comment on that as well.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of value in showing that it's not just the fundamental research, but actually getting it out into the real world. And, I think there are a lot of people at the university who acknowledge this as a real contribution in addition to the, fundamental research that faculty do.
Well, I've often thought that no research is ever complete till a human being's life has been improved, and it sounds like you're doing that almost every day now.
Yes, yeah, it's very rewarding and impactful.
So if anybody wanted to find out more about firefighting drones or robotics, what do you suggest that they do?
Yeah, so droneamplified.com is a good place to start.
Sure.
But yeah, there's just lots of new stories coming out every day on how technology is changing not just firefighting, but the world at large.
Well, listen, I want to thank you for all that you do for making me proud and making our university proud, and I want to wish you the very best, and hopefully we'll continue to contain these wildfires, and that I don't know what's next for Drone Amplified, but I'm sure it's just bigger and better.
Yep, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
And thank you so much for being with us today.